And we're back for another edition of Behind the Uniform, our first in-studio shoot. You've seen us all over the country talking to some of the nation's top prospects. Now it's time to do it here in studio, where we can go in depth with student athletes that are currently in college, especially those right here at the University of Michigan. And fitting that the first guy that we have in studio is maybe a young man who, as a prospect, I started watching earlier than any prospect I've ever watched, because he was a middle schooler out there with the high schoolers with sound mind, sound body. Will Johnson, his dad calls him William. Will, how you doing?
Doing good. How about you?
Doing great, man. Glad that you could join us and glad that you could be first with us here as a student athlete on Behind the Uniform. We'll go in depth and in detail about your transition from high school to college, but just more broadly to start things out, how are things going for you with your adjustment?
Everything's going pretty good. I say the biggest thing has just been like being more on my own now. I mean, I'm not that far from home, but just having responsibilities to take care of my own. That's been the biggest thing.
Man, I want to rewind the tape, to being the son of a student athlete, a Michigan student athlete. Did you ever feel like growing up that you were destined to be at Michigan, or was that just a decision that you arrived at from going through the process?
I mean, growing up, Michigan was always my dream school, so I always played the same position as my dad. I mean, all the stars pretty much aligned to where it worked that way, but I mean, in high school, no, because early in high school, I wasn't really big on Michigan, so
right.
I mean, later in high school, it was a new coaching staff, and I started to like it, so that's just how it ended up.
Yeah, man, it's funny how things go, because I remember at one point, even once you start looking at Michigan again, it seemed like you were on the verge, very close to going to Ohio State.
Yeah.
And then, like, Jim Harbaugh kind of jumped in personally, right? Kind of take me through that part of it.
Yeah, I was really high on Ohio State at one point, but pretty much, like, when they got the new coaching staff, there was some things going on with Ohio State, and Coach Mo actually was kind of like the biggest factor for me. I just fell in love with him and his coaching style and his personality, and we just clicked it from day one. So that was really who got me on board the first day he got here. So that was big for me.
Yeah, I got you. All right, so we were talking a little bit about the high school process and coming up as the son of a student athlete. I'm curious, I always ask guys who are the sons of players, did you always feel like your dad was harder on you than the other guys? Did he hit you harder, coach you harder than the other players?
Yeah, nobody can coach me like my dad. There's a lot of great coaches and things like that, but he's been coaching me since I was little, so he knows all my weaknesses, all my strengths, and he knows how to push me like nobody else really does. So he's definitely my best coach, and he's the reason I got where I am now. So he's definitely pushes me every day, every time we work out, all that. So yeah.
Right. So you have certainly dove in early to your college career. Now, as we get into detail into that transition, what's been the toughest part of making that jump? Is anything about it surprised you so far?
As far as the football part?
As far as the football part.
As far as the football part, biggest thing just been, like when I first got there, I think it was the strength, the things, not so much the speed, but I say the speed as far as like the playbook and having to know on the fly as much as you do now. Because in high school I didn't have to know very much. I just really would just go out there and play. So now that I got to be thinking about a lot and go out there and play with dudes that are way more athletic than in high school. So just learning the playbook so I can slow everything down and play at a regular speed and play at my speed. That was the biggest thing for me.
Right. So I mean, there are moments in practice where when you first start, where you get out there and things are moving real fast and like, oh man, wow. But then there's a part where you speed up and the game slows down for you, and the other guys are saying wow about you. Can you take me into those moments? Like, what did you see in the early going where you were really impressed by this guy or that guy or something they did, and then on the flip side, you started making plays? When did you know that you were really impressing them?
Guys that I'll say like impressed me, that I was kind of shocked by a little bit, well, I say starting in my class was like Mason Graham. Well, I think he's gonna be like a first round D tackle. Like he's one of the best D tackles on our team already. So he's gonna be super good this year and in years to come. And Amarion too. He's probably the freakiest athlete I've ever been around.
Amarion Walker.
Yeah. So those two. definitely shocked.
Wow. Wait. So pause. we gotta dig into, because for you to say that, I mean, you who started on both sides of the ball at Grosse Pointe, you're one of the best athletes in the country coming in, and you're calling out a couple of guys who, rankings-wise, early on, they were lower, and they came up as scouts saw them more. I went to see Mason Graham out in Cali. They were playing Damani's team.
Mm-hmm.
And, man, he played both ways the whole game on the line.
He's a freak, for sure.
And so, to me, it was the motor that stood out. What has stood out to him about you? Or stood out to you about him?
I think that's probably the biggest thing. Like, if you go back and watch the spring game and watch him going against probably the best center in the country, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. Just how the way he can hold his own, and it just looks effortless for him. So it's just crazy seeing him going against seniors, and usually at that position it's kind of hard to transition that fast. So him coming in that fast and being able to dominate is just crazy for me to see.
Wow. And so Marion, I went to watch him play Arch Manning's team early on, and best player on the field that day from start to finish. Arch Manning made some plays early in the game. He threw a touchdown, and then defense started getting to him. Marion had a couple touchdowns, a couple big plays. I mean, you don't know how fast he is until you see him chewing up the turf.
Yeah, I mean, he's 6'4", 6'5", with a 43-inch vert, probably around like a 4'3". Like, it's just being at that size and moving what he does. Like, he'd probably go to the combine right now and tear it up. So it's just like, it's just crazy to see in person. You got to really see it.
I got you. All right, man. Hey, look, the description is enough in and of itself. So that's in your class. All right, so as you move beyond your class, who were the guys that kind of stood out to you?
Beyond my class, I mean, I pretty much go against the receivers. So with the receivers, I'll say Andrell's really good. He's one of our best route runners for sure. And Roman, he's just so fast. So that's one of those things about Roman. I'll say those two for sure.
And so, like I said, early on, you're a freshman, you're getting acclimated, you're probably, swimming a little bit, and then you catch up. Then you start making plays. So when did you know, all right, yeah, I'm feeling it, and they know I'm feeling it? You remember the day, remember some plays where that was going on?
Yeah, so leading up to the spring game, we were in practice, and I was covering CJ Cornelius, and he ran a comeback, and I played it perfectly. I broke on it, felt great. Then later that day, or maybe it was later that week, Carter Selzer, tight end, because they're in the offensive meetings, he told me he was like, Cade and the quarterbacks, they're playing for the spring game, is to hit you with double moves because you jump everything and you break on all the routes.
Wait. So he told you that before the spring game?
Before the spring game, he was.
He was giving you secrets.
Yeah, he was, because he's on my team, so he was trying to help me out. So he was like, "Yeah, just be ready for that." And to me, I'm taking it as a compliment, because it's like they pretty much know I'm jumping everything else, so they got to hit me with a double move to beat me. So that's when I knew, like, they recognize that I'm covering people pretty well.
Right. So, it's funny. You mentioned being coached by your dad, and he coached you really hard. Steve Clinkscale is a coach you've known for a long time, right? He was your first offer, wasn't he?
He was my first Power 5 offer, yeah.
First Power 5 offer when he was at Kentucky. He's known you forever. He's a hard coach anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
But I wonder, with you especially, because he's probably known you as long as he's ever known any prospect, is he kind of like on you like your dad was when you were in high school?
Yeah, he's the closest to my dad and the closest that can, like, get under my skin a little bit, like my dad can. But yeah, just like as a coach and as a person, he's just like, he's a down to earth dude. He's gonna straighten me up when I need to be straightened up on and off the field. So he's definitely the coach that I think I needed when I got to college, for sure. Just knowing how my dad coached me up my whole life, and then having him, it's just a good transition for me, for sure.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, you walk into expectations. You walk into expectations because of your ranking. You walk into expectations because you're a legacy guy. Right? You walk into expectations because you're early enrollee. You walk into expectations because you wear the number 2. So what about that? I mean, that's heavy as a defensive back to wear a number 2, coming in with some profile. I mean, is that something that sort of weighed on your mind as you decided what number you were going to wear?
Yeah, it weighed on my mind. I mean, that was one of the reasons I picked it. I mean, obviously I like the number 2 too, but it was just a little extra motivation I think I needed in college, just to push myself and remind myself just to be great. And knowing that some people are gonna have that expectation for me. So I mean, I'm not comparing myself or anything like that, but it's just like a little motivation to just be great in that number at corner. That's it.
Yeah, man. I mean, now your dad, he didn't overlap with Charles, did he? He missed him by like a year, didn't he?
He might have missed him, or it might have been his last year.
Got you. All right, so I mean, you go back and watch some of your dad's old tapes, man. I mean,
I used to a lot actually when I was younger, all the time. Yeah.
Well, so give me the scouting report on Deion Johnson.
I mean, he was definitely a big corner out there for sure. Yeah, I mean, everybody tells me how big he was physically, and I think I'm more fluid and get on my brakes better and all that. But he definitely looked like he was good out there for sure.
All right, so we got more football to talk, but I want to dig into something that everyone's talking about right now, and that's NIL. I mean, guys in this day and age now have to be able to balance the two. And you're doing so as a freshman, as a newcomer, and you came in seemingly well prepared for how to do that. So take me into the preparation for NIL. What did you do? What did your parents do to get you ready for some of the things that you're going to see as you embark upon this NIL process?
The first thing we did, I mean, there were a lot of like NIL marketing people and lawyers that were reaching out to us when it first became a thing. So first thing we did was meet with a lot of them and just see which one we really wanted to go with. And then we went with Mike, and he pretty much helped me all before I got here and early, even now. So just the relationship I have with him and the relationships he has in Michigan pretty much have set me up a lot. And I trust him, and he's a great lawyer too, so he's able to read my contracts and do all of that for me. So pretty much he's been one of the biggest things for me for sure.
So how do you decide what you're going to do and you aren't going to do? I mean, I take it that you don't accept every deal that is put in front of you. So how do you discern? Like, what's that process?
Really, it's based on the relationship. Like, Mike has a lot of relationships in Michigan with a lot of big people, and not even just the people that we're doing the deal with, the people they have connections with is another big thing too. So it's just like, just getting around people in different worlds and different aspects. So that's really all it is, just relationships and obviously money. Think about it, the contracts and all that, but definitely relationships and who they know and how I feel about them.
Were you the first, or are you the first Valiant sort of, apparel guy? Because when people talk about signing with Valiant, you signed with the actual Valiant apparel, right?
Yeah.
Are you the only one or the first one to do that?
I think I am, yeah. I think I am the first one, yeah.
Yeah, so that kind of goes back to Sound Mind, Sound Body and the connection with John Wangler, right?
Yeah, for sure. I pretty much, I grew up with Jared and Jack and all of them, and John has been in my life since I was little too, because he sponsored Sound Mind, Sound Body when he was with Adidas. So yeah, that relationship definitely helped me with the Valiant, and just wanting to, as much as they're giving back to me, give back to them and try to help their brand and stuff like that, because they've done a lot for me growing up. So yeah.
Right. So you talked about how you determine what deals you accept. Then there comes the part where how you handle your money, how you deal with tax liability and those kinds of questions. I know you sat down with Dave Hemmick from the Hemmick Group at Morgan Stanley recently. I'm curious, what were your big takeaways from that interaction that you had with him about maybe how you're going to handle your money moving forward?
I think the biggest thing was just like, if you invest your money when like smart right now, then you'll pretty much be set up to be a millionaire when you're ready to retire. So things like a Roth IRA, if you put up to like $6,000 in there for like the next 3 years, if I did that, I'll pretty much be set to have, like, if I didn't touch it, have like $6 million in the bank account just from that when I plan to retire when I'm like 50 or 60, I think it is. So just stuff like that, to where you just be smart right now with the money that I'm getting from NIL. Before I hopefully go to the NFL and things like that, I'll definitely be set when I get older.
So I mean, that's a very sort of mature outlook on how to handle your money at this age. But I mean, for you guys, that's kind of how you got to start thinking. You're sitting down with a Dave Hemmick. I'm curious, do you sense your teammates? Many of your teammates are attacking it that same way, or are you advising them? Like, what's your interaction with your teammates like when it comes to NIL? Are you giving them advice? Are you seeking advice?
I think it's a mix of both. I haven't really, as far as their financial, like their planning, no. I haven't really talked to anybody about that, but more like if somebody comes to them with a deal or something, they ask me like, have I heard from them? What do I think about them? Or I might do the same. So maybe when it comes to like deal and who we know, but not really financially. I mean, we talk about it a little bit, but not really how they're going to invest it.
Yeah, I'm curious, man. I mean, before all of this, had you even paid attention? I don't know if you had a job before. Had you had a job where you had to pay taxes and have tax out of your check and that kind of thing, or paid attention to that?
I never had a job. So.
Had you heard of a Roth IRA before?
I've heard of it actually from my high school. I had a class about handling your money. So, yeah.
But this sort of took it to another level.
Yeah.
Right?
Went more in depth about it.
So, are you gonna be doing that?
Yeah, I plan to.
Okay.
The right way, yeah.
And sticking with that conversation about teammates, I mean, one of the concerns that I've heard coaches express, fans express about NIL is that, you know, it could cause a divide in the locker room. That, hey, Will is getting X, and I'm not getting that, and I've been playing for 3-4 years, or what have you. Are you sensing that in this early stage? Not necessarily about you specifically, but have you seen situations in the locker room where NIL and what someone else is getting is affecting another player?
No, I think more people are just happy for each other. I mean, like, coming up, we're having to deal with the National Guard, where it's like we go in a helicopter and we promote we do a lot of stuff for them, but pretty much the whole team's getting paid. So it's like, obviously, some people get paid more and things like that, but it's just like more people are just happy for people to make money, and nobody's really taking it personal. People talk about how much they make and stuff like that, but nothing that was separate or something.
Yeah, man. I mean, you mentioned certain people make more. I know with some of the autograph signings, for instance, is it tiered like that where, hey, so-and-so might get this for signing autographs, whereas everyone's going to get something, but some guys are going to get more than others. Does it work like that, and has that been an issue?
Yeah, like for the signing, it was like, I think some of the older guys made more than, and all the freshmen, the most they made was 1,000, so it was like some older guys made like 5, so it might be a freshman everybody knows and the older guy not a lot of people know about, but because they're older guys, they make more money, so it's just like, that's how it is, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm also curious about that because you come in as a freshman with profile. You know, that might be something down the line where we see a lot more student athletes come in the door because they might be a 5-star like Will Johnson and their NIL deals sort of waiting to be signed because you have profile coming in the door. Do you sense that maybe causing some issues in locker rooms down there? Maybe not at Michigan, but locker rooms period down the line, that a guy comes in and he hasn't played it down yet, but he's able to get all these NIL deals?
I mean, I really wouldn't know because at Michigan it's not really like that. It's more like when you get here, they're gonna give you what you earn, but like it's not gonna be a 5-star freshman that comes in and just they have all the deals for him, but they don't have deals for starting quarterbacks. So it's like they're gonna do what they should, but they're not gonna they're gonna make you earn it for sure.
So I'm when I say you say that's talking about Michigan. I'm saying you could walk in the door and it could be businesses. It could be people outside of Michigan that just want to sign Will Johnson because they know who Will Johnson is. They know him as a recruit. That's the part that I'm talking about. Not Michigan. People having interest in you because of who you are, or a freshman because of who a freshman is. Do you think that that's going to be an issue in locker rooms across the country? That, hey, you have these hotshot guys who haven't played it down, who are going to be signing deals not through the school, but because people know who they are coming in the door.
I think that comes down to the coaching staff and things like that, because we have a coaching staff like Coach Harbaugh is going to let it be known, no matter how much money you have or things like that, you're going to have to earn respect around the building and earn respect from their peers. So, and Coach Herb, our strength coach, he makes that known too. So it's just like it comes down to the leaders and things like that. But as far as I know from our school, no. Maybe the other schools.
Yeah, man. It's as you watch what's going on in some of these. I mean, guys talk. I'm sure you see some of the reports. We were talking to Hunter Dickinson, and Hunter said, "Man, do something." I'm laughing about it. It's a guy transfers from Kansas State to Miami, and an NIL guy announces the transfer on Twitter and said, "Here, he has this this deal, right? And Hunter was like, dude, that deal was done before he signed, right? It was already done, and it was a huge number. So I'm curious, do you pay attention to that? What guys are getting at other schools and some of the numbers that are being thrown around?
Not really. I mean, I just try to make the money I can make. Focus on my own money. I mean, I know what people on our team make, that the high-profile guys make, so that's a good number to compare to. But I don't really care about other teams, how much they make. We're not in the same pool of investors and markets and all that type of stuff. So like, it's different.
So have you hosted any recruit? We aren't going to get into specific names, but have you hosted any recruits as they've come on campus, or interacted with any recruits as they come on campus?
Like since I've been here?
Since you've been here, yeah. All right, so do they talk a lot about NIL when they come on visits? Like, do you sense that being a big factor for at least the guys that you've interacted with as they've come to campus?
I mean, I know it's a big factor for sure now with all high-profile recruits that pretty much going places based off how much they're getting, especially this 23 class, because they're like the first. Ours made money, but theirs is like really making money right now. So like, maybe a little bit, but not a lot. They haven't really talked to us about it. Maybe they ask if we're making money or something like that, but not like specific amounts or anything like that. No.
I got you. Well, yeah, definitely. You hear about some numbers being tossed around that I don't know how realistic they are, but we definitely can see that a lot more guys are being able to leverage NIL in the recruiting process to their advantage, and good for them that they're able to do that. But let's bring it back to you, strength and conditioning wise, getting in with Coach Herb. I mean, one of the biggest times of growth is when you first get into that strength and conditioning at the college level. So have you made significant gains since you arrived on campus for the winter term?
Yeah, Coach Herb was a great strength coach. He's probably the realest dude and the most locked-in dude I've ever met in my life. So like, he's definitely got me right. I had a couple my hamstring was bothering me in the spring, so he's been helping me with that a lot, getting him stronger, more flexible, things like that. And I definitely put some weight on. I'm close to like 200 pounds in that range now, so definitely got stronger and faster, and I think he'll have us ready for sure for the season. In
high school, you were a guy that played all over. Obviously, you played on offensive receiver too, but you play corner, you play safety, you play nickel. What's the focus for you as a freshman? Do they want you to just be at corner and learn that, or are they already saying, hey, we're going to move you around and play you a different spot?
No, I'm just strictly at corner. Just focusing on that, locking in on that right now.
Locking in on that. All right, so we talked about the times where you really started to make some plays and around the spring game. What has the process been like here as you guys do your player only sort of drills and scrimmages and things? What's that competition been like, and how much better do you think you've done in these sessions compared to the spring?
Those are a little different. I mean, it's player led, so we're just out there by ourselves, and we it's just offense versus defense. We just do some like 7-on-7 and scrimmaging. Those have been good. I mean, I'm pretty much I know a lot more now, so I'm more comfortable. So it's funny because like I look at the guys that just got there and see how much it is to them. It's like I couldn't imagine just coming right now. So I think I've been doing pretty good. It's just slowed down for me a little bit. So
is that the biggest? It sounds like to me, physically you have to get used to the speed of the game. That's a calibration. Mm-hmm. But playing faster sounds like to me for you is you're thinking the game a lot more. Is that accurate to say?
Yeah, it's definitely way more thinking before the snap, right before the snap, during the play. It's a lot that you got to think about, and be able to communicate with your teammates, especially when you're in with the older guys. You got to be able to know just as much as they do. So that's been the biggest thing for me.
So what older guy do you lean on the most? Like, who's taking you under his wing?
Definitely RJ for sure. Me and RJ are super close. So yeah, he's if we're working out, just me and him in the film room, just me and him. He's definitely taking me under his wing and helped me out tremendously.
The man, I covered RJ in high school. He was a big time baseball player too. Right, so I thought he was maybe going to be a dual sport guy here. He's obviously settled into football, but watching him do what he does in the spring and summer conditioning, what have you seen in RJ's game?
To be a 230-pound safety. He's definitely he's well put together. He's a very good athlete, and he's probably the smartest person on the defense. So he's gonna have a great year this year. And he's working hard and doing everything he needs to do. So I think he's gonna have a breakout year too.
Yeah, man, it's 230 pounds, and he'll thump you.
Yeah.
I think there's probably a point where
And
some
he
of
can
the
run too. So.
where some of the linebacker coaches probably wanted him a little bit to move up in the box, but obviously fast enough and fluid enough to stay in the defensive backfield. Which brings me to another guy we didn't talk about early on, but Keon Sabb. He's a guy that I know a lot of people say, man, he is so big, but I had heard he had kind of trimmed down a little bit. Where's Keon now? What have you seen from him?
Yeah, he's trimmed down. He's lost obviously some good weight. He's put on some muscle and lost some weight. He's another one of those. There's a lot of guys in our class just like freak athletes. So he's gonna be really good too. Obviously, as a freshman, you got to be able to pick it all up. At safety, you got to know everybody's position. So once he gets a hold of the playbook really well, he's gonna be good too.
You thought about that moment walking down the tunnel, man? I mean, you've been in the stadium, you played in front of a crowd, but it's different on game day. Have you walked yourself through that yet?
Yeah, I think about it every day. I talk about it with my teammates all the time. Just how does it feel, what to expect, and as much as I talk about it, I'm not gonna know how it feels until I do it. So I just try to work hard and prepare myself for it. Really.
Think your dad gonna cry?
Probably, yeah. Probably shed a couple tears, especially if I make a play.
Right, man. So you can't make a comparison because you didn't play last year. You weren't here last year. But I'm just curious your initial impressions of Coach Mentor. Taking over the defense. What have you seen from? What's his style like? I mean, what have you seen from Coach Mentor so far?
I think he's pretty similar to Coach McDonald. I mean, we run the same defense. Obviously, added some new stuff in there. I have a great relationship with him, so I love it.
Yeah, because you did practice. You practiced for the bowl game a little bit, so you can't make a bit of a comparison.
He's a little more calm than Coach McDonald. Is a little more loud and things like that, but they both get the job done. So I think he'll be a good coach for us this year too.
Interesting that you can have that kind of chemistry and cohesion carry over. Now there's a transition. He's not necessarily your position coach, but he's in the room, in the secondary room. And Coach Harbaugh, Coach Jay Harbaugh, coming over to the defensive side. I don't know how much interaction you've had with him, but what have been your impressions of Coach Harbaugh, the DB coach now?
Just that he's a very smart coach, and he's probably definitely the smartest coach I've ever been around. So he just knows everything to the littlest thing about the game, all phases of the game. Because he's pretty much coached like all phases, I think, at Michigan so far.
Mm-hmm.
So special teams, everybody knows how good of a coach he is for that. So
you gonna do that?
Yeah, he wants me to do some of that too. So I don't know my role for sure right now, but I'll probably be on something this coming up here. But yeah, he's definitely a great coach for sure.
Gotcha. And so, obviously, coaching is in his DNA, right? His pops and his granddad, his uncle, they're all coaches. Jim Harbaugh the best of them all. And I want to dig back into that recruitment specifically with you because I feel like you were maybe the recruit that he, at least in my coverage, impacted the most. It felt like he injected himself in your recruitment at a time where it was crucial, where if he didn't do that, very well could have been the case that you went somewhere else. Am I overstating that? And so what's your relationship like with the head man, Jim Harbaugh?
I have a good relationship with him. I think during my recruiting process, like you said earlier, I didn't talk to him much. And then when they started recruiting me harder, he started to reach out more. And we established a better relationship. So I think that was big for sure because obviously everybody has their own kind of expectations about how his personality and how he is. So once you really get to know him, you really will love him because his personality is he just loves football so much that it comes off like a different way unless you're around him every day. So you got to really know him to really respect him for it.
Mm-hmm. Is that the biggest misconception? Like, what would you say is the biggest? We're going to talk misconceptions now. The biggest thing that people don't get about Coach Harbaugh that you get now is what?
I think that he's weird. It's not he's weird. He just he loves football. So when he's in the weight room lifting in khakis, when we're all lifting, it's just as a player you love him because he'll get in there and work out with you no matter what he's got going on. He got 10 minutes to just get some work and get on the squat rack with us. It's no matter what, he's gonna put his stuff down and just get in there with us and be real and be down to earth. So I don't think it's being weird. It's just like he's just down to earth and doesn't care what anybody else thinks about him, really.
What would you say is I don't know how much you pay attention to what people say about Michigan and NIL, but what do you think is the biggest misunderstanding or misconception people have about Michigan's approach to NIL and what they're doing for you guys as student athletes?
That you won't get paid if you come here. I mean, when you get here, the people that the people involved in Michigan and people that like the players, they're gonna obviously treat you well when you get here. And it's not. I think they just want you to be here first, and they want to keep the like Coach Harbaugh says, it's transformational, not transactional. So they just want to keep that mindset with the team, so they don't want to be giving, like you said, 5-star recruits all this money before they get here, and that's just going to ruin the morale of the team. So once you get here, obviously they'll treat you great. So that's what I've noticed so far. I think I got everything I earned, so I'm happy with what I'm getting.
Yeah, I got you. All right, so let's talk about some of your different NIL. Like, what are some of your NIL ventures that you have going on? I mean, we mentioned Valiant. What are some of the other things that you're doing?
Well, I have another deal with a restaurant in Michigan, in Birmingham, in Royal Oak. It's called the Maury. That's a connection with Mike. The owner's name is Aaron. It's a great restaurant. It's like they have great food. They host when they have games. They'll watch the Michigan games there. Another deal I have is with Positivity Water. Mm-hmm. That's connection with an ex-Michigan grad that my dad knew very well. So just things like that, just connections. And
Positivity Water. Where can we get Positivity Water?
You can get it online. I think it's positivitywater.com.
Okay.
Right there, yeah.
All right, we'll definitely check that out. All right, I'd be remiss. We talk so much about your dad. Mm-hmm. We got to talk about Mom. We got to talk about your sister. No one makes it down this path on their own or with just one pillar of support. What about the other pillars of support for you and what they meant to you in your journey?
Well, for my mom, I mean, my dad's the football. He got me there with all that. But as far as mentally and school and like financial and all those type of things, she's huge on those. So she's the one that's gonna ask the hard questions when nobody wants to ask. She's the one that's gonna push me and say the things I don't really want to hear sometimes. So I mean, she's been huge. She does little things that go unnoticed a lot. So she's been huge for sure. And then my sister, I mean, she was just my role model. I mean, growing up, she's probably, if not a better athlete than I was, but she's just a girl, so they don't really see it as much. Mm-hmm. I mean, she can't play football, so yeah, she was just at the Olympic, not Olympic trials, but she was at the track meet to make the Olympic team. So I mean, she's a great athlete too. So
yeah, I was going to ask you that. Is she a better athlete than you? You answered it before I asked.
I'm not saying she's a better athlete, but we won't know because she hasn't been able to play big sports like I have. So yeah, but she definitely showed me what it takes to be a great athlete.
Yeah, man, you never shy away from expectations. That being the case, and I'm not asking you to brag or anything like that, but I'm curious. What are your expectations heading into your freshman year at Michigan?
I mean, I want to start at some point this year. I want to make plays. I mean, I want to get some interceptions. That's just the plan. The plan is to make plays and start this year. I mean, I don't want to talk too much about it. I just want to go out there and work hard and do what I was supposed to do. That's really it.
You know, this offense, and don't get specific about plays, but, you know, talking to some of the guys on offense, they say, hey, man, it's going to be, they're bringing more to the table this year. They're bringing more to the plate. They're going to be more explosive. They talk about, what did Andrell say? He said, we're taking more shots. Now, again, not like you practiced all last year. I'm just curious, as a defensive back, did you sort of sense that in spring ball? Did you sort of feel that?
The crazy thing to me is, like, I see all the receiver room rankings and all that, and Michigan's never in there. And it's just like, it's crazy to me because we have such a deep receiver room. Like, Mikey Sammer still, he's probably one of our best receivers, and he's able to go on defense because, like, we're so deep at receiver. And I think our offense, I mean, we pretty much got everybody coming back, plus more. So, I mean, I think they could be even better than last year. So, our receiver room is definitely underrated for sure, I think.
Gotcha, man. You keep in contact with any of the guys that you were recruited with? I mean, you talked to Damani once you found out USC was coming to the Big Ten?
Yeah, I actually found out earlier than everybody else because USC, they got the email and all that really early. So, yeah, I still talk to him every week, almost every day. So, yeah, we're still in contact.
Yeah, so maybe he'll play in the big house after all.
Yeah.
Just on the other side.
Come in the cold after all, anyway. So, yeah.
All right, well, Will, hey, man, it's been a pleasure to have you be our first in studio guest on Behind the Uniform. I think it's fitting that we close things out on an NIL tip and really sort of take in an opportunity to maybe share some of the best advice that you've gotten NIL wise. You said players don't really talk a ton about it, but what's the best advice you've gotten NIL wise that you would share with other players or other guys that are going to be, having to face the same things that you're facing right now?
Probably just knowing your worth and just like I said, investing your money that you do get properly because you want to set yourself up in the future, not just right now. So, yeah, knowing your worth and not taking every deal that you get. And yeah, just with the money you get, just investing it the right way. That's really the biggest two things I'll say.
Gotcha. Well, William Johnson, appreciate your time, man, and good luck your freshman season. Probably try to catch up with you before fall camp starts to see how things are going, but way to go. Be our first one here. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Thanks for having me.